You have to develop your sexual charisma. You have to develop your sexual charisma. Make sure you develop your sexual charisma. Hello, once again, it's your boy Alfred here, and welcome back once again to Wakati Avenue, another episode. And as you've heard, the topic is all about developing the sexual charisma. Basically, right, this is drawing from last week or past week's video. It was about the video about Baltarzar, the famous Equatorial Guinean guy who had, well, at least that's allegedly had sex with over 400 women, right? So we're drawing from that, and I said that a part of it, right, of what was happening was that he kind of hacked or had developed a sort of sexual charisma, and it's we're drawing from that, right? I'm not going to talk about him. I think enough videos of him have been talked about. It's been talked about enough, basically. But I want to talk about just in general, right? As you develop yourself to the best version of yourself, that you shouldn't forget to actually develop your sexual charisma. Now, the main point here, right now, I'm assuming that we all know that what sexual charisma is, right? Your sexual charisma is what really draws you to the opposite sex, to women, right? It's something that is attractive, it's unique to you, right? So it what draws women to you, basically, right? It's the things, your essence, your what you have developed into, right? And a big part to always remember about that, right, about sexual charisma, right, is that as a man, right, you need that masculinity. You have to be or have a way of expressing your masculinity, right? Now, there's a whole different way of doing that, right? And it could be through the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you dress, your appearance, body-wise, and things like that, right? But you have to be able to point out to yourself and develop that, right? And one thing is that you can always learn how to do this. Every man has a way of doing this, has a way of developing that, right? That sexual charisma. However, you can also get someone to help you, someone who can pinpoint exactly what you can do, right? Someone who can help you develop that part that you want to develop. A coach, right? Dating coach or something. But, however, don't forget one thing, that coach, right, will coach you, but they'll only be able to show you the basics, basically, right, and what you can use from there, what you have to develop from a certain point, right? The bigger part will be on you, what you do in a daily basis, every single day, showing up. You have to be going out there and actually doing the work. That means that you have to be meeting the people that you want to meet and have to practice, right? Especially women, right? Practice the type of things that you're going to do, say, how you're going to be presenting yourself, how you present yourself. That's part of your charisma, your sexual charisma, right? Now, of course, let's not forget there's a whole lot of charismas out there, right? Sort of charismas, type of charismas, right? Your charisma, right? But specifically here, I'm talking about your sexual charisma. So it means that your sexual expression towards the women that you want. Now, I'm not turning this into a relationship or sort of relationship advice sort of channels. Not. It's just something that I'm giving out there to tell you that you have to be able to express yourself a certain way. And the main reason for this, right? The main reason for you to do this actually is that you can be able to separate yourself, right, from other people. Meaning that, you see, the thing is, the way things are going is that people trying to group us, or situations trying to group us and make us all kind of look the same, seem the same, talk the same, do all sort of the same things, right? Then that's why you're finding even a whole lot of people talking the same kind of topics, same boring things and all that, right? But once you separate yourself and create your own unique ways of doing things, your unique path, right? You find that you want to be different. We may have similarities. Whereas humans obviously would have similarities, similar background at times, similar path, but they're not the same. But then you also have people who do not really care for uniqueness, for their own individual uniqueness. They don't. All they do is copy, and then they become robotic, and then they just become boring. They're just boring people. And that's why sometimes people get bored of certain people because they're just regurgitating the same thing, doing the same thing. There's nothing really unique about certain people, right? Because now they've grouped themselves and have the same group mentality, create the same sort of thinking within these certain groups, right? So one of the way of separating yourself from certain way of thinking is developing your sexual charisma, right? Like I said, the way you talk, what you say, the topics that you going to choose to talk to the opposite sex, right? To women, right? Basically, right? There's sort of innuendos that you're gonna throw, right? Talking sexually, right? So that way, you have to bring that individuality out. No one can really duplicate that. Now remember, people are trying to duplicate, try to forge, they try and they're just not, they don't have that individualistic thinking. They just don't have that. So what you're trying to do is making sure that you stay within who you are. But at the same time, you're developing that inner self. With that inner self comes confidence. Confidence that will actually give you, right, better knowledge of yourself. And once you get that knowledge, you can use it to advantage. Just like I say, your sexual charisma, you can use that to advantage. The way you talk, the way you present yourself, right? So by doing that, you're also separating yourself from other people, other men basically. Other men will get lumped up in the same position because they're just copying each other. They just copy the same thing with the internet, right now, on YouTube, whatever, TikTok, same talking points. So what they do, they copy that. Right, it's just like someone having one, or a group of students having one teacher who teaches the same style of talking, same style of everything, right? Eventually, those students will have similar right? Or the same type of way they're going to think. Now, to separate yourself, you have to create your own style. A good example probably be someone like Bruce Lee, right? Let's take for example Bruce Lee, right? Bruce Lee learned martial arts from different teachers, right? Senseis and stuff. But then there was this famous teacher, I forget his name, who taught him. He had taught everybody else, right? But eventually Bruce Lee created his own style, his own martial arts style, right? He blended things together, blended what he learned, and came out with his own martial arts style, right? That's what you want to do. You come out with a unique you. That's how actually Bruce was also able to separate himself from his counterparts, because he came out with his own way of doing things, right? From making movies to the way he presented himself, the way he talked, the way he fought, that was different. Differentiated himself because he now embraced his own uniqueness. He was able to do that. But what we're saying now is that everyone else is the same, or at least they have all the same sort of thinking and doing the same thing, right? So developing yourself in general, self-development will just generally separate you from a lot of people. But then within that self-development, right, self-improvement, you're going to get things like sexual charisma that you have to develop, right? It's a big component it's one of those big components of self-development. That's why I'm always for self-development, especially in men. You have to develop yourself into the best version of you. Now, one way is now embracing that sexual charisma. And the way to do that, right, is basically going out there, talking, speaking to different people, especially women, right? Seeing how you can actually attract or do the things that you want to do, right? Of course, nothing illegal. We know that, right? We don't do bullshit here, right? But as men, we have to create that masculinity in us. We have that masculinity. We have testosterone that has to push us to do things that are positive, right? And developing your sexual charisma is one of those things that you have or will actually help you a lot, right? So to wrap up, develop yourself first. Know your weaknesses, know your strength, know where you want to go. See if you actually need the things that that you need to possess, right, to take you to where you want to be, right? But as a someone who's striving to be a high value man, someone who's working on his masculinity, you still need companions, right? Or women, right? Basically. Then what you have to do, you have to develop an essence of sort, right? A charisma that will attract them to you. By doing this, you have to work. You have to know what works, what does not work, right? It takes time to take you to put in the work, by the way, but it will take time, and it will also be something that it will be fun at the same time. But you have to be able to read those nuances. Make sure you know how to read moods, essence, right? What sub-communications, things like that. What are you communicating to the next person, right? What are your sexual hang-ups? That's another thing. Because some of us, we grown up thinking that a lot of things that are sexual are taboo. You have to be able to make sure that you get those sexual hang-up or sexual hang-ups out of your mind, right? Another thing, obviously, the obvious, I've always, I think I've said this several times, that you have to stop watching things like porn, right? Porn messes up your whole brain because now you're only thinking about unrealistic things, right? And just develop that charisma, the sexual charisma, which is always within you, right? Then you'll be much more free, right? You'll be much more you'll have less anxiety, right? You won't be thinking of too conscious of yourself. So I'm going to stop there. All right, it was it for this week, right? It's your boy Alfred, and remember, brick by brick, Rome was not built in one day. Till next time, peace.